Number 15. Alright, so these are 100% true. I'm not claiming it's supernatural shit, but I personally can't explain it. So about a week ago, my parents and little brother left to go overseas for a month, which left me at home alone. All was good. I had a few parties, but 2 days ago, shit started getting weird. It was around 5 p.m. and I was chilling at home alone when I decided to turn most of the power in the home off. Microwave, dishwasher, etc. It was now around 10 p.m. so I decided to go to bed. My house is 2 stories tall, my bedroom is downstairs, everything else upstairs. So I fall asleep around 11, and when I wake up and go and eat breakfast at around 8 o'clock, I look over and see the dishwasher's turned on. Strange, because I definitely turned that and the microwave off. I passed it off as an error on my part and continued the rest of my day. Now it starts getting really creepy. I have some friends over till about 11 p.m, just drinking, then we call it a day, and I went to bed when they left. I woke up at around 8 a.m. to the sound of footsteps upstairs, wooden floors. At first I thought it could be my older brother visiting, but then I heard my computer turn on, which I know for a fact he doesn't have the password. Why would he do that, I thought? So I stood at the bottom of the stairs just waiting to see if he was gonna come down because I know he knows that I was home alone. Like 10 minutes pass and I go upstairs and nobody is there. Doors locked and everything. But the computer was on, what the fuck? Now I was a little scared. I go back downstairs to get dressed and I keep my iPhone on charged next to me on my nightstand. And when I went back down, it was halfway across the room with a crack on it. Number 14. When I was a teenager, I lived in my father's basement. He would frequently go on business trips and I would be home alone in the house for up to a week at a time. One evening in spring, I was up alone watching TV at around 2 a.m. when I heard through the open windows what sounded like 2 distinct sets of footsteps outside, walking from the front yard, around the side, and into the backyard where they stopped. It was then I realized since all my lights were on, I couldn't see outside, but the outside could see me. I immediately panicked, shutting off my TV and lights. So now I was alone in my basement with no lights on, with what I thought were 2 prowlers sitting on my back deck. I do not know how long I was frozen in the darkness, but after I didn't hear any more sounds for a while, I quietly crept upstairs to try to get a better look into my backyard. Thankfully, all the lights upstairs were already off. Unfortunately, with the way the bushes and patio umbrella were set up, there were large blind spots where it sounded like the footsteps stopped. I considered calling 911, but when my father would eventually find out, I knew I'd be forced to stay with my aunt when he went out of state, so I stared at the deck waiting to see movements for at least 10 minutes before I began convincing myself that my mind was playing tricks on me. I decided to go investigate outside. I grabbed the closest thing to a weapon I could, an old shepherd's axe, went out my front door, and crept around the side of my house, crouching beneath a bush. I finally mustered the courage to swing the axe into the bush and shout, "Hey!" Nothing would happen, right? No one was there, and I'd have a good laugh. May it be an embarrassed one, when I realized I was just being paranoid. Instead, I immediately heard the sound of deck chairs scraping on the wood, and 2 sets of human footsteps running off in the opposite direction. My heart stopped. I felt like I blacked out for a second from the adrenaline rush. I ran back around the side of my house in the direction I came. What was I to do? There was no time to think. I made it to my front door, swung it open, rushed inside, slammed it shut, and stood there in the darkness, practically hyperventilating. I stared out into the street, waiting to see someone leaving the property, but no one did. It was then I realized that now, I wasn't safe inside my house like I thought it would be. I was trapped. So I ran out the front door into the middle of the street where I could scream if I saw someone. Surely by now I should have called the cops, but I wasn't thinking clearly anymore. Now I was facing my house, but I still didn't see anyone, so I glanced to the left down the street. Nothing. Then I looked right. 2 male figures were walking away from me, a block and a half down the street. Just as soon as I noticed them, they turned left at the T-junction onto the main road and disappeared out of sight. For some reason I ran after them, and when I turned the corner no one was there. They should have nowhere to go, and they would have only made it about half a block if they were just walking. They must have had a car waiting there. I was 13. Number 13. My aunt was home alone when she heard someone open the door and walking in the hallway. Since her husband, my uncle, was not supposed to get home in a few hours, she went downstairs to see if someone was there. She did not see anyone, but outside the door she saw footsteps in the snow leading to the door, but not away from it. This got her nervous, and on a second glance, she saw an unfamiliar pair of shoes in the hallway. She ran up and called the police. and when they came, they searched through the house. They found a homeless man hiding in the storage room, holding my uncle's shotgun. But luckily he had not found the ammunition. It was hid in another place. He was arrested, but according to my aunt, it is the scariest thing she's ever experienced. Number 12. I was home alone, age 12 or something, and I heard the sound of glass shattering from my parents' room. I cautiously walked in to see what was going on, thinking that maybe the dogs had knocked something over, but instead I was met with the silhouette of a guy climbing in through the window. He didn't notice me at first, and I was dumbfounded for a few seconds. Then I shouted for the dogs. We had 2 boxers at the time, one of which was a very aggressive guard dog, and they both came running. The guy looked up and saw me, but immediately jumped back out of the window. I was honestly hoping the dogs would chase him through the window, but they stopped in the room and just barked at him. I eventually let them back out to check it out, but the dude was long gone by then. My parents got home a couple hours later to a frightened kid holding a broom handle as a weapon with both dogs sitting around me. I didn't sleep well for the next few weeks. Number 11. When I was about 10 years old, I was at home when my mom went to the shops. I'd been in the living room watching TV before deciding I wanted a drink and headed to the kitchen. From the door of the kitchen, I saw a tall, thin outline of a man outside my back door and could see the doorknob turn. He put his hand through the dog door but was unable to reach the knob. He went after a few minutes, so I removed the key from the back door and put it on the kitchen table. I sat on the stairs in front of the front door until my mom got back, terrified. Number 10. One day while doing my laundry, one of my lights blew out in my basement. My basement is set up so that the laundry room is split from the other side of the basement with a wall and a door. In order to get upstairs, you have to exit the laundry room and go through the other part of the basement. So the light blew in the other part, not the laundry room. As it was the only light on that side, it was pretty fucking dark. I finished the laundry I had to do while dreading the walk through the dark basement. I exit the laundry room, get halfway through the basement, and I hear a loud cackle. Imagine a sound people make when they imitate a witch. Take that and imagine that the witch had been smoking for 50 years, making her voice deeper and hoarser. That is what I heard, clear as day, right behind me. I did not hesitate to bolt for the stairs. I waited until my father got home and then changed the bulb. I have yet to hear the cackle since, and I've not told a single person in the house about it. Number 9. During the summer, I tend to sleep on the couch in my basement because it's always nice and cool down there. So I was downstairs one night watching ESPN at about 2 in the morning. We have hardwood floors upstairs, so whenever someone's walking on them, you can hear it in the basement. Well, that night, out of nowhere, I hear what sounded like my dogs walking on the floor above me. Problem is, my dog is sitting next to me, and I was home alone. Still don't know what the fuck that was. I've also heard whispers coming from the living room one night as I walked out of the room. That was fucking scary too. Number 8. Took a picture on my old webcam, and there was a black humanoid looking figure standing behind me. It absolutely scared the shit out of me, and some other strange occupancies have happened since. I have a black cat, and it was walking into a room, and I saw it morph into the shadow of a human in one of the bedrooms. I went in and the cat wasn't there. The weirdest, which I don't know at this point is real or not, is when I once went downstairs and all of the cabinets were wide open and the front door was open also. I was home alone. Number 7. Well, a few years ago when I was a sophomore, I was home alone one night, a Friday I think. Now note, I live in the country, practically with my only neighbors being this old couple next door, a middle-aged couple, and another couple with a 4-year-old. It was approximately 11 p.m. at night, and I was playing Xbox. All of a sudden, I hear a smack, smack, smack rapidly on my window above my head. Naturally, I freaked out and jumped up to see who or what did that. Opened the blinds and no one was there. No animal or anything. I tried to play it off as maybe raccoons or maybe rocks in the wind, but 3 hard smacks on a window don't make sense for rocks. To chill off, I went to the office on the computer to do stuff, and not 5 minutes later, smack, smack, smack on the window right to my right. Now I was fucking scared and got a flashlight and couldn't see anything out of the window, and I called my mom to tell her, and she told me to lock the doors and call the cops if need be. So I was goddamn terrified at this point and went upstairs to try to sleep or listen to music. Just as soon as I was ready to sleep, I heard wham, wham, wham on the side of my house and practically cried while holding a knife until my parents got home. My dad and mom couldn't find anything outside other than some footsteps and a crack on the house siding from what seemed to be a big hammer. Never found out who or what that was. Also forgot the part where we found pictures of the house and a small sledgehammer in the woods. So yeah, that makes it 100 times worse. Number 6. I was stuck in a bathroom in a creepy house my family was staying at. I was home alone. You had to force the door into the jamb to get it to close and latch, only to find out that the knob didn't work the latch. I heard the side door slam shut downstairs. I thought my dad was home. I called to him. Dad? Dad, I'm stuck in the bathroom. I heard him walking on the hardwood, through the kitchen, down the hall, stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Dad, I'm locked in, I yelled. I immediately heard him run up the stairs and stop at the top. Once more I exclaimed, I'm locked in the bathroom. 4 more steps to the other side of the door. Dad? Boom! The door swung open and slammed into the wall. I stepped into the hall. I looked around. No one was there. No one at all. I politely said thank you and went straight to bed. Number 5. This happened a few years ago to me when I was still living in my childhood home down in California. I had just inherited my family home, so my cousin decided to move in so she could attend a college nearby. My cousin and I were both working at the Lego store at the time, but I only worked mornings and my cousin worked nights, so there were many nights where I was alone. A couple of weeks before this happened, I'd been taking stuff out of my car when I realized a strange brown van with no back windows parked across the street. As I put the stuff in the trunk, the man in the van started making weird noises at me. I turned to see if I could get a look at his face, but his black Giants baseball cap was pulled down really far. Thinking he was just a creepy guy, I flipped him off and went back into the house. About 2 hours later, I went outside to go somewhere, and he was still parked across the street. Not thinking anything of it, I hopped in my car and headed to my friend's house. As I was driving, I looked in my rearview mirror and saw the same brown van following me. I turned on a whole bunch of streets and he followed me down all of them. I turned onto the road that my father-in-law lived on and parked, thinking if the guy tried anything I could just run in there and be safe. When I pulled over in front of my father-in-law's house, the van slowly drove by. I looked into the van and saw the man put his hands into a gun position pointed at me, like the index and middle finger out and the thumb pointed up, and said bang really loud. After that he hauled ass and drove off. Now I had always been a little leery of staying home alone. My house had always given me the creeps because of how poorly lit it was. When I was alone at night, I usually just stayed in the kitchen because of how bright that part was. I was watching a TV show on my computer when all of a sudden I hear a banging on the front door and the handle jingling. It startled me for a moment until I looked at the time and saw it was around 10 p.m. and knew my cousin would be getting home from work around this time. I got up and opened the door, but no one was on the porch. I shouted my cousin's name out, but still got no response. I called my cousin's cell, and immediately she was like, "Oh hey, I'm on my way home from work right now." Before I could say anything else, there was 3 extremely loud bangs on the door that connected the kitchen and the garage, and the knob was shaken violently. I slammed the front door closed and locked and chained it, and ran from my room. My aunt called me while my cousin called the police, and I stayed there until my cousin arrived. When she came and got me, I was led outside to talk to the police. I was trying to explain what had happened, but the officers along the side of my house were distracting me. I walked over to where they were, but one of the police officers held me back. They opened the gate and saw that the door to the garage, which we always leave locked, was wide open. All of the officers in the area pulled out their guns and went into the garage, but no one was there. Afterwards, the police told me it was probably just some kids messing around, but if I ever get scared at home, just to call them and they'll send someone out. About a week later, I was watching something in the living room with my cousin. As I was passing by the window next to my front door, I realized there was a guy wearing the same baseball cap as the guy in the van standing outside on the sidewalk, staring at the house. When he noticed me watching, he immediately locked eyes with me and slowly gave me the creepiest smile I'd ever seen. I turned and yelled for my cousin to come see this, but when I turned around, he was gone. I will say though that the baseball cap in question is really generic, and lots of Giants fans wear it, so I can't say if it was the exact same guy, but it felt like it was. 3 days after that, I was home alone at night again. I was on edge, but I was trying to ignore it, telling myself that I was going to be okay. I was baking cookies in the kitchen when I thought I heard a knock on my sliding glass door. My whole body tensed up and I slowly turned towards the door. The lights in the backyard were off, and the kitchen ones were on, so the glare on the window made it impossible to see if someone was outside. Everything was silent for a few seconds before someone banged on the door again. I wanted to scream but felt paralyzed in fear. The person ran on the deck from the sliding glass door to the 2 windows in the living room and started knocking on them as well. They came back to the sliding glass door to knock and started trying to open the door. I finally came to my senses, grabbed my keys and ran outside into my car. I locked myself inside and dialed 911. We sold our house shortly after that. I still have a hard time staying home alone, even though I'm 2 states away now. Number 4. It was like 2 a.m. I took my clothes off and went to sleep. A minute later, something hit me in the head. It was one of my socks. When I take them off, I throw them in the corner of my room, so someone threw it back at me. But there was no one in my room. I was home alone. May not sound so scary, but it was for me. No, there was no fans in my room, and no wardrobes or similar around my bed. I have no explanation for this. Number 3. I remember a while back, when I was around 11 or 12 years of age, I was looking for my Nintendo DS. I looked everywhere, under my bed, behind my pillows, on my shelves, in wardrobes, and even inside of my bed cover. I completely took off my bed covers, which were white, compared to my black DS, which would have been easily visible. I looked everywhere. I was pretty annoyed, and aloud I said, "Ugh, I can't believe I lost it again." I then quietly went to the bathroom. I was gone no longer than 60 seconds. I came back into my room and saw my DS opened right there in the center of my bed. I was spooked to say the least. All I could muster was a timid thank you to whoever found my DS for me. Number 2. I have a sleep talk recorder app on my phone. Basically, it only records when it hears sounds. So when you wake up, you have a bunch of 8 to 20 second sound clips. Usually, they're the sound of me rolling around in my sleep. But one night, I was home alone. Parents were out, brother was at a friend's house, and when I woke up and listened to the recordings, I heard 1, 2 in what sounded like a German man's accent. There's no way I could have made that sound. Here's the recording. Number 1. This was about 5 years ago. My family was a week away from going on vacation to Virginia Beach from our place in Canada. We usually go there for a week in the summer to enjoy the beach and surrounding area. This takes place before we leave. I was home alone hanging up laundry out in the backyard around 9 a.m. and I leave the back door unlocked because what's the worst that can happen? My backyard has gates that are already locked, so I'm waiting for another load of laundry to finish in the washer before I hang it outside and decide to go play some Xbox in my basement. At around 9:30, I hear my back door close. My house has one of those alarms that beep whenever a door opens or closes, so I heard that too. I thought it was my sister coming back from her neighbor's place. Maybe I'll ask her if she can hang up the next load, but why would she use the back door? What's going on? Oh shit, is it? It was. I ran upstairs to see this dude standing in my hallway, shorter and skinnier than I am. I'm 15 at the time, around 5'10", 160 pounds. He's older, about 5'8", 130, 140. This is our exchange. What are you doing here? Is Anna here? There's no Anna here. What do you want? I was outside and Anna texted me and said I could come in, but the front door was locked, so I tried the back. I think you have the wrong house. He asked if it was 120 street next to mine. I said no, this is 120 my street. He said, oh sorry man, I must have the wrong house. We shake hands, he puts his shoes on, exits through the back, hops my gate, which he breaks, and tears off in his car. I ended up calling the police and told them the story of what happened. Their investigation came back with the information that there was indeed an Anna at 120 street next to mine, but she was 6. Got an idea for a top 15 list? Be sure to leave it in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching.